Hey everyone, the Game Piece here, and welcome to our next competitive analysis, where we go in depth on various Temtem, giving you various strengths, weaknesses, what they're capable of, and giving you sample TV builds to go off of. This week we're going to be taking a look at Mushook, the toxic and melee type. So let's get right into it, everyone. Mushook can be obtained by evolving Mushi after 20 levels. You can obtain Mushi on the island of Tukma right from the beginning of landing on the island. This Temtem is toxic and melee type, one of the many dual types in the game at the moment. Mushook is going to take super effective damage from mental, wind, and digital types, but it's going to resist all melee, toxic, water, and nature type attacks. With Mushook's moveset overall, it's going to have a pretty easy time dealing with earth and crystal types, with a moderately easy time with dealing with water and nature types. It's also very capable of dealing with certain walls with various moves that it has, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Mushook's overall stats are pretty well balanced except for its special attack and special defense, along with its poor stamina and a little bit of poor HP as well. Its attack and speed, however, are very good at 81 both, and 80 defense is also very good, pairing it with some of its abilities. So let's get into those abilities right now. Its first one is Parrier, which is capable of reducing any sort of physical damage that it receives by 30%. This is very good for dealing with any sort of physical sweeper or any sort of physical attacks, really being able to eat those up with this ability. Especially if you build your TVs into more defense even, this is going to greatly increase your survivability from physical techniques. The second trait is Tireless, and that is going to allow you to avoid the overexertion turn that you would have to wait in order to attack again. So if you went for a move that overexerted you, you're still going to take the HP damage from the overexertion, but you're not going to have to rest for one turn or switch out before you can attack again. You can just go ahead and go for another attack. However, this isn't super great because you're still going to have extremely low stamina, even if you do go for the overexertions. I would really recommend going with Parrier in all options on Mushook here. Now let's get into some notable moves that Mushook is capable of learning. The first one I want to talk about is Urushiol. This is a 41 base damage, no hold, 8 stamina, toxic type move with normal priority. Nothing super special about this at first glance, however this does get a synergy with a toxic type. If you do use it with a synergy, you're able to get 4 stacks of poison up on the opposing Temtem that you target with this move. This is super good at targeting any sort of opposing wall, as those 4 poison stacks will add up to 50% total damage. The next move I'd like to cover is Humiliating Slap. This move is a move that is capable of learning by level up. It's a 90 damaging move, 20 stamina, no holds on it at all. It's neutral type. This move is very good at dealing with physically defensive walls, as Humiliating Slap does lower the defense stage of the opposing target by 1. So you're able to use Humiliating Slap and then proceed to sweep with a physical sweeper, or if you're having trouble dealing with a wall. The Humiliating Slap is definitely more of a supporting move to be able to pair with another stronger physical Temtem. The next move I'd like to cover is Paralyzing Poison. This move is a 2-hold move with 20 stamina cost to use, but it has a synergy with a toxic ally. If you use it normally without the synergy, you will get 2 stacks of poison and you will trap the target Temtem for 2 turns. However, if you do use it with the synergy, you will get 4 stacks of toxic damage instead, along with that 2 stacks of trap status. Paralyzing Poison is very good to use if you want to trap into Temtem and you want to switch out from Mushook and be able to bring in a counter or bring in something that is capable of setting up on it, because the opposing Temtem is not capable of really doing any significant damage to it. I found that that's a really good way of abusing the trap status with Paralyzing Poison. Mushook is also capable of learning the Technical Course 13 Block. This is a melee technique status move that will raise the defense of any target that uses it by 2 defense stages. This is very good at pairing up with Mushook specifically because of its Parrier trait, allowing it to increase its defense even further than it already is, which is already pretty high to begin with. Now, Temtem that you're going to have to look out for when using Mushook are definitely Volorand. Any sort of wind type moves are really going to be effective at tearing through Mushook, given the fact that most wind type moves in the game at the moment are special based, and Mushook's special defense is nothing to write home about, with a base being 41 on top of its kind of lower end HP with a base of 67 only, on top of Volorand being toxic type, so you can't even really get any sort of effective toxic damage off on it. Barnshee is another Temtem that you're going to have to look out for. The mental type attacks are really going to tear through Mushook as well, with those also being the majority special based, so really those are the the main Temtem you're going to have to look out for. Otherwise, any sort of strong wind type attacks or mental attacks are going to be the main things that you're going to have to keep an eye out for. But really, Mushook excels at dealing with physical attackers. Interestingly enough, Mushook's greatest weakness being Voloran might also be its greatest pairing. Voloran is able to pull off the synergies that Mushook is really wanting to get off with Paralyzing Poison and Urushiol, but really any sort of wind type is good with pairing with Mushook. You're going to be able to pull off turbo choreographies like Mushook is capable of learning, and be able to set up any sort of wind type, as well as set up your Mushook to be able to proceed to maybe get off Humiliating Slap to proceed to lower the defense, and then proceed to sweep with another Tem. But now let's get into some sample TV builds that I've come up with for Mushook here. The first one is having the Parrier trait. Obviously, I recommend Parrier over Tireless. For the moveset, we have Paralyzing Poison, Block, Turbo Choreography, and Urushiol. And the item is our Rock Shield. The reason for Rock Shield over something like the Coat is because you're really going to try to avoid taking wind type damage altogether on Mushook. Like I said before, wind type damage is mostly going to be super effectively special based, so you're really going to want to avoid that altogether. The Rock Shield is there to be able to effectively take down crystal types and really wall them off with any sort of crystal bites, or even crystal stabs are really going to be eaten up by this Mushook here with the effective build that we have. And speaking of that build, we decided to max out the HP stat and max out special defense. You're going to be able to increase your defense with the move Block. The move Block does increase the defense stat by 2 stages, so you're going to effectively be able to double your defense stat from Mushook and be able to really take some heavy hits and increase its survivability from Mushook here. This Mushook is definitely more of a supportive based Mushook. It really wants to pair up with something, like I said earlier, like Voloran, being able to get those turbo choreographies off along with the synergies with both Urushiol and Paralyzing Poison are both going to be very good for you. And then let's get into the second Mushook build we have here. This is definitely more of an offensive Mushook. This has the Parrier trait again, along with Footwork, which is able to increase your speed stage by 2 when using it, Urushiol, Humiliating Slap, and Uppercut. It has the item Pan Sunscreen because you don't want this Mushook to get burnt at all. Don't want it to be lowering its attack by 30% for any stacks of burnt that it has on it. Really, your goal here is to be able to get any sort of Humiliating Slaps off to lower defense and proceed to sweep with Uppercut, or maybe get some Urushiol stacks off if you can get the synergy with any sort of poison type ally. The build I have on this Mushook here is maxing out the HP and maxing out the attack stat here and putting the extra points in defense. Footwork after the boost is going to effectively double your speed, meaning that after the boost you're going to be at 198, which is going to outspeed the majority of threats in the game, even after taking into account priority. But really the main thing you're going to have to look out for using this Mushook build in particular is the special attacking wind type and mental type moves. They're going to absolutely tear through this Mushook here with no special defense investment. So definitely something to keep in mind. As for the ranking of Mushook, I'm going to be placing it on the C tier here. We're going to be bringing it down to the lower end of the list. The really big thing that holds Mushook back is its low special defense in a really special-oriented game at the moment, along with the major weaknesses being heavily prominent in the meta as well. A lot of wind types are super prominent in the meta, stuff like Barnshee, Voloran, Tuvine. Really, there's a lot of wind type moves that you have to look out for when bringing in Mushook. Not to mention the mental type moves are mostly special attacking moves as well. So things like, Mix, Barnshee, even Kinu is capable of dealing pretty effective damage to a Mushook. So that's really Mushook's downfall. On top of Mushook not really being able to hit super heavy without having another Tem backing it up, Mushook isn't capable of self-buffing itself at all, at least in the attack department. It's capable of buffing its speed and defenses, but it's not capable of buffing its damage at all, really. So you're going to have to rely on another Temtem to come in and do some cleanup work. But really, Mushook is an overall solid option if you want to give it a try. I really just think that there's a lot of things that you're going to have to look out for and plan around when using Mushook that you wouldn't otherwise have to plan around when using another Temtem. But definitely don't count Mushook out. It definitely has strong capabilities of taking physical hits as well as dealing some significant stacks of poison damage to a majority of allies, remembering that status conditions do persist on swap. But that does it for this week's competitive analysis on Mushook. Let me know what you guys think of Mushook overall. Have you guys used him on your team, or are you guys planning on using one at all? Let me know how you guys are planning on running him, and just let me know what your overall thoughts are on Mushook are. But please keep the recommendations coming for what Temtem you'd like me to cover next, and let me know if you have any feedback or suggestions for the future of these videos. But hopefully you guys liked and enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like, and be sure to subscribe for more Temtem content like this, and more Temtem stuff in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.